Hello, welcome to Library Lived In. We're so excited to be back after a long summer, and we're excited to be discussing Fantastic Beasts and where to find them this evening. I skipped. I'm Lisa. This is Anise.
And I'm Anise.
And it's been, I don't know, 3 months? Too long? Too long. So tonight we're going to talk about the Fantastic Beasts screenplay. I had to bring my the pretty cover. Okay.
Yeah, I have it too. I checked it out from the library.
Beautiful. I'm in love with the cover, so I had to get one.
It's really beautiful.
And we're going to talk a little bit. We'll talk about the movie, obviously, and then a little bit about the novella that kind of spurred off the whole thing in the first place. So should we start with your rating?
Okay, so my rating, I would give it 3 stars.
Only 3?
Only 3.
Only 3. Okay, why?
Well, probably because it's a screenplay. I don't find that as enjoyable to read as an actual book. I think I do like it more than the original novella. But neither of them are what I want.
Well, if we rated all the books off what we really wanted, I feel like my ratings would drop.
That's probably true.
So, but fair enough. Well, I was going to give it a 4-ish, like 4 maybe and a little. I feel like a lot of what we come to, I put it a 4. So I feel like I need like 4 point whatever now. I have to break it up. But I really am fascinated with the idea of the writing a screenplay and how that differs, and reading that format. I thought it was going to be a lot like reading the play, but it's really not. There's a lot, some things, but there's a lot of things that are very different, and I love that. So I think that, not just the story, I want a bigger story.
So are you comparing it to a play in general or to Shakespeare? Because I think that's
plays in general, because we read the format of a play. Obviously there's a great difference between say when we read Shakespeare and when we read The Cursed Child.
Yeah.
But just reading a play format, I thought, well, it'll be similar. Film format would be similar, and it is, but I feel it's a lot more detailed. And we talked about this maybe with the Fiona Shaw documentary that we watched, that in film you can do a lot more than you can as far as stage instructions or whatever you call that, because you can look at specifically a face or a reaction or the way a hand is gripped or whatever, versus on the stage you just have the whole, you can't focus in on one thing. So I kind of found that part sort of fascinating. But yes, I would have preferred a nice big fat book with the whole story. So there we are. But I couldn't rate it a 3. I'm going to read it again.
Yeah, so that's a fair rating. It is.
We'll see. We'll see when the other ones, there's going to be 4 more. We'll have to see when the other ones come out how I feel about it.
Yeah. I think it's probably going to get better. I think I'll like it more when there's more information.
Yes. Yes.
Because this is kind of setting everything up and introducing things. And I feel like the next one is probably going to be more of that. But we're also going to get more built onto what we already have. So I think it'll be good.
Right. Where in the Harry Potter series, there was so much from the get-go, because you can put more into one book than you can one screenplay. Agreed. All right. Well, as for summaries, I kind of was looking at what was out there instead of writing my own, because there's so much in trying to capture it all. And I found my favorite kind of summary was from the Fantastic Beasts film website, like the official film website. And so I'm going to read like a chunk out of that for our little summary tonight, because I felt like that was sort of kind of captures everything. So there are growing dangers in the wizarding world of 1926 in New York. Something mysterious is leaving a path of destruction in the streets, threatening to expose the wizarding community to the Second Salemers, a fanatical faction of no-mages, American muggles, bent on eradicating them. And the powerful dark wizard Gellert Grindelwald, after wreaking havoc in Europe, has slipped away and is nowhere to be found. Unaware of the rising tensions, Newt Scamander arrives in the city, nearing the end of a global excursion to research and rescue magical creatures, some of which are safeguarded in the hidden dimensions of his deceptively nondescript leather case. But potential disaster strikes when unsuspecting no-mage Jacob Kowalski inadvertently lets some of Newt's beasts loose in a city already on edge. A serious breach of the statute of secrecy that former Auror Tina Goldstein jumps on, seeing her chance to regain her post. However, things take an ominous turn when Percival Graves, the enigmatic director of magical security at MACUSA, Magical Congress of the United States of America, cast his suspicions on both Newt and Tina. Now allied, Newt and Tina, together with Tina's sister Queenie and their new no-mage friend Jacob, form a band of unlikely heroes who must recover Newt's missing beasts before they come to harm. But the stakes are higher than these four outsiders, now branded fugitives, ever imagined, as their mission puts them on a collision course with dark forces that could push the wizarding and no-mage worlds to the brink of war. There's a lot of information in there.
It is.
That kind of covers a ton of things all at once. Is there anything you think essential to the story that gets missed? Okay. Setting, we already have 1920s America, New York. It's got jazz era. You're switching into like from Art Nouveau to Art Deco, and as far as the style and all of that, which really gets captured in the film. The music too, with all, you have all of the jazz music and I don't know, sort of the fun clothes and all of that going on. So any thoughts that you want to say at that point?
I thought I really liked when it was set. I liked that it was right in between the two world wars, because I think it's at the point where it's far enough away from either one of them, either the first or the second, that it kind of hints that these wizarding events maybe set things in motion that ended up crossing over into the non-magical world. So that's something I noticed.
I didn't think of that. That's a good point. That's a very good point. I wonder where we're going to go.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I also liked, I don't know, the cultural differences of having this set in New York, and sort of, you don't have the Ministry of Magic, you have MACUSA, and you have the directors not, what I mean? Like all the differences and the language differences, but it's little things too that I think you just recognize if you, I don't know, if you know anybody from England or you spend a whole lot of time watching British shows, that sort of, I don't know, thing, just the attitude of things carries over. I think they do a good job of, because they filmed it all in UK.
Yeah.
I feel like with UK actors, I feel like they do a good job of capturing sort of the American I don't know, culture of things.
Yeah. So, Nomad, yes or no?
I don't love it. I don't love it. I feel like it's kind of irritating.
Yeah.
But to be honest, there's a lot of American things that are kind of irritating. And we do a lot of sort of abbreviations and shoving things together and acronyms and whatnot, instead of having our own sort of funny little words for things. So
Yes.
I think it sort of suits, but I don't love it. I find it obnoxious.
Yeah, I think so too. But I am glad that Newt still calls them muggles.
Yes, because he's still true to himself.
Right.
I think they do really well with the characters. I think the characters hold true. So to where they're from, and maybe we should talk about characters next, shall we? We just hit sort of maybe the main ones. You have Newt is our main one, and he's from England. He went to Hogwarts. He was a Hufflepuff, but he didn't stay at Hogwarts. Did you know?
Kind of a Hagrid situation, it sounds like.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. Did you notice just how similar that whole situation is?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I wonder what. I don't know if we'll find that out.
Oh yeah,
But
we can find it out. It's
like
very important.
what did he release? What did he, or who did he put in danger, or what that got him expelled?
I don't know.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
But he obviously is very caring and kind, and has a tender spot for the creatures in the world,
Mm-hmm.
and he just wants to sort of better people's understanding of that.
Right.
So what do you think of Newt?
I like him as a character. I did not like his portrayal in the movie as much. Only because I felt like he mumbled a lot. And so, like, the whole time during the movie, I was like struggling to keep up with what he was talking about. And it wasn't until I read the screenplay and like saw the creature names written out, I was like, oh yeah, I've read that before in Harry Potter. I've heard it mentioned. But in the movie, like, I had no idea. So it was a little hard for me to follow.
Yeah. I did feel like that. I feel like he's trying to show that sort of shyness or whatever that he has around people in kind of his speech. But I did notice. I have some hearing issues anyway, and I was just gonna chalk it up to my own hearing problems, not to the movie though.
Yeah, no, I think you're right that it is because he was shy, and hopefully that will improve a little bit in the other movies.
Well, hopefully, because I don't think they're changing actors.
Yeah.
So I do like him as a character. I do like seeing him come to life. I think that's pretty awesome. All right, so then we have Tina, which is short for Porpentina, which is a really terrible name. I didn't look up if that's like a traditional name from the 20s, but
I don't think I've heard it before.
But anyways, Tina is not bad. And she was an Auror previously, and she lives in New York, and she works for MACUSA, but she was demoted. She was demoted to a desk job for overstepping her bounds in protecting somebody. Mm-hmm. And so she has some sort of that, like, I don't know, where her compassion for other people matters more, I guess, than the legality of the situation to a degree. Anyways, I think that says a little bit about her. Mm-hmm. What did you think of Tina?
I liked her a lot. I think she it's interesting seeing an American person from the wizarding community as a main character, because I think she contrasts a lot with Newt, but in a good way. So I really like her.
I felt like she grew on me as the film went on. I didn't love her at the beginning, but she grew on me. You have Queenie, which is Tina's younger sister, who is a Legilimens. Am I saying it properly?
I have no idea.
Legilimens. So she reads minds. She's gorgeous. She's kind of the lighthearted one. And I don't know, you don't get the idea that she's irresponsible, just that she's more, I don't know, not as serious. So I loved Queenie from the beginning. What did you think?
Yes, I liked her a lot. I thought she was a great character. I think what I liked about her was that she, even though she seems like a little reckless with her mind reading, like she's always going to act on that information. Like every time in the story that she reads someone's mind, she uses that in some way, but it's always in a good way. Like always to help that person, or she uses the information in some sort of constructive way. And so I think you really get the sense that she's really a good-hearted person. And if she had a different personality, that could be really awful, and she could use it to do all kinds of terrible things. But the fact that she never does, I thought was really great. Another thing that I liked about her, which I didn't realize until after I already saw the movie, was that the actress that plays her name is Alison Sudol, and she is from a band that I like. And I had no idea it was her because she looked totally different. But the band is called A Fine Frenzy, and I have been listening to their music for like 10 years. So I was like super shocked when I realized that was her, but it made me like her even more.
What kind of music?
It's like kind of alternative.
Okay. I'm gonna have to check it out. I read that she was in a band, but I didn't know. I don't know. I didn't look past that yet. So
yeah, we should totally link it in Goodreads.
Okay.
I'll do it.
All right. I love, well, and everybody so far, I think they're all kind-hearted. I think that's what brings this group together. Even though they're all, you have like the one Brit and you have the two Americans, and one of them is free-spirited. And then we were going to bring in Jacob, who is the nomad, but they're all like, they come together because they're kind-hearted people. So then we have Jacob. Jacob, I didn't realize when I watched it, but when I read it, I realized he was a World War I vet. So coming back from the war, and he couldn't do, his dream job. He couldn't, be a baker. And so he's really trying for us to open a bakery. And he gets accidentally sort of swept into this whole kind of craziness, but he sort of embraces it. Like he's been looking for magic in his life. And you kind of get that, I don't know, sort of like coming back from the war. It's not all, beautiful and wonderful at home, So I think this was a good, it was a beautiful thing for him to come into this experience. So what did you think of the actor they have for Jacob?
I thought it was a good pick. It made it more enjoyable, I think, between him and Queenie, because it seemed so much less likely, but also kind of more authentic in a way, if that makes sense.
Yes.
I really liked him.
It didn't seem like a Hollywood fix-up. It seemed realistic. Yes, definitely. All right. So we have some others, but Percival is sort of our key, I don't know, turns bad guy, but you don't realize at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And I always want to say Mac USA, but it's MACUSA.
It is.
As far as like Muggles versus Nomads, how did you feel about MACUSA?
It sounds maybe not as friendly as Ministry of Magic. Like
Yes.
more bureaucratic, maybe.
Yes. And as far as like the whole acronym thing or whatever, but I really thought this is one time as American, I thought we would not say MACUSA, we would say MACUSA. I don't know. But Percival is the director of magical security, which I think will be key as the story develops. Like that put him in a really good position, you know, for being who he was. And he puts on these airs about worrying about the statute of secrecy and making sure that or not being exposed to anybody, which is the opposite of how he really feels. And he is, you find out sort of towards the end of the movie, he's manipulating Credence.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think of the right word, manipulating Credence to look for a particular person. And do we say Percival turns out to be Grindelwald in disguise at the very end? And so obviously that's a much bigger thing that's going to come into, you know, the main story. What did you think of the actor change when we went from Percival to Grindelwald?
So it was, when he was Percival Graves, it was Colin Farrell.
Yes.
And then when his true self is revealed, Gellert Grindelwald is Johnny Depp. And they kept that a huge secret.
Yes.
So I was surprised.
What do you think going forward? How do you feel about Johnny Depp?
I think he will do a really good job, judging from past characters he's done. He can be creepy. Because Grindelwald is like the Wizarding World version of Hitler. So
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be really he's gonna do a really good job.
I agree. I love Johnny Depp. But it's interesting. I mean, he's an American playing a European. But I think he's done that successfully in the past. I think it would take the right person to do it, you know? So, all right. We have Credence. Credence is an adopted child. I kind of felt like when I watched the movie that he was living in an orphanage. But when we read it, we find out he's actually been adopted into this family. And he's the middle child. He's kind of shy and lonely and sensitive, and kind of get the feeling he's not completely stable. And of course, then Percival / Grindelwald is manipulating him, and it's really not.
Well, and it doesn't say it explicitly until the end, but Credence is from, like, it doesn't give details. It doesn't give many details about the family he came from, but he knows that he has magical lineage, and that's why Percival Graves is able to manipulate him, is because Credence hopes that he'll be able to be trained to have magical powers, and he's living with this adopted family that is awful and puritanical and like always having little meetings on street corners and all kinds of creepy stuff. I was surprised when I saw the movie, like how creepy it was.
Yes. Well, especially when it comes to the family. Like the mom is very abusive. And I think they really do capture that, I don't know, sort of that witch hunter spirit, you know, of of things. Like it's obvious that the mother believes in that witches really do exist, and wizards, and you kind of don't know if she's acting out of fear or hatred or both, but she is sort of vehement about the whole thing. And what a terrible place for a child to grow up, you know, in that sort of hateful situation. So
yeah, and I think that this was also probably part of the reason why it was set in America was because then they could draw on that part of our history, because her group was called the Second Salem Church,
yes,
whatever. And
the
so,
second Salemers.
yeah.
Yes. I'm trying to see. Officially, it was called the New Salem Philanthropic Society, but they were nicknamed the Second Salemers. So you kind of get this idea that, I don't know, they put forth they're involved with a church or for doing, you know, kindness. Like here she is adopting these children and taking them in, but then she uses all the children to, like, I don't know, like a little army of workers to go pass out pamphlets and share this hate message. And I don't know, there leads into your little sort of like Hitler analogy there. But it's really sort of a terrible, awful thing.
Yeah, and something I noticed too was that like there are parts of Harry Potter, like it's more gradual, these kinds of things coming out like in the story, but this one is just like right there, like from the beginning. And so that interests me to see where it's going to go from here.
Yeah, I think part of that is the format too, right? So we're not getting how many thousand pages of a book, right, of a novel. We're getting, right, which kind of makes it so that you have to distill the most important scene, the most important, you know, moment, most important words. You don't, I don't know, you don't get to explain. I'm reading with my youngest right now. We're just finishing up the last little bit of the 5th Harry Potter book. But we always read in the evening. And since school has started, we've been really tired, which means we make it like a page before he falls asleep. And so I realized there's like 20 pages of Dumbledore explaining the book. Let me explain to you what's happened in this book. And you can't do that in this situation. You can't spend time wrapping it up, and you know, which is fascinating. I love reading the book. I'm not complaining about the Harry Potter book, but yeah, it's just a different sort of format. You can't do that. Very, very interesting. So what other characters have I not mentioned that kind of stood out to you, or that you thought much about?
Those are the main ones. I feel like, at least so far, Fantastic Beasts is a lot more plot driven than character driven, where I would classify the Harry Potter books as definitely more character driven. But that, again, might be due to the format. And I think as we see more of these characters, that might change. But for now, that's what I think, is it's a lot more plot driven so far.
I think that's interesting. We'll have to see and chat about it. I totally have felt for years that the Harry Potter books are more plot driven than character driven books. I think she's very true. I think Rowling is very true to her characters, and that I don't know, some plot driven books you read and you think, well, that makes no sense. The character would not do that, you know? And I don't think that happens with the Harry Potter books. I think she's very true to the characters that she develops. But I do feel like the stories happen sort of the way they do for a reason, to make it all come together. And especially when you come across all 7 books, you know, it has to come, the plot has to be built up in a certain way.
Right.
So I don't know. We'll have to see. Let's see. I don't know. There are a lot of good sort of secondary characters and things. I was really fascinated by the role of the goblins. You know, in Harry Potter, it's, I mean, you have Gringotts and you get a taste of their character, and their character's not very pleasant, but they're in sort of legitimate position
Mm-hmm.
in the world. Whereas here, like the main goblin you meet is running a speakeasy,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and he's definitely underhanded, and he's definitely not, you know, his true character is really coming through. So I thought it was interesting how they sort of changed that up a bit.
Yeah, I liked him also.
It's funny liking a character who's kind of despicable, but it's okay. It was good. And you really get to like, I forget the Bowtruckle's name.
Pickett.
Pickett, yes, you get to really like Pickett because his personality comes through.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was pretty cool too, to like actually give the characters or the beasts some specific personalities that you could relate
So
to.
was Pickett your favorite creature in the movie?
Oh, I didn't think about picking a favorite. I like Pickett.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Do you have a favorite?
I liked Pickett. I thought the Niffler was funny
The Niffler
because
was.
he caused all the trouble. I will say that I did not like the swooping evil just because it was called the swooping evil. It felt like she comes up with such great names for everything. It felt like kind of a cop out a little bit.
I thought, you know, some animals just get a bad rap.
Yeah.
Maybe he just had a bad rap, and I don't know.
Could be.
What was the, I'm going to forget the name of it, but the creature at the end that, like, they think he's the last creature, and they go to find him, and it turns out he's babysitting the thing that grows.
I don't remember.
I think he's my favorite because he's looking after the other creatures.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember his name. I don't know. Anyways, I like that he was looking out for the other one.
Yeah.
You know, it was sweet. So, any other like favorite things about the film or things you really didn't like about the film?
So in addition to the like there's the whole thing about the second Salemers that stood out to me a lot as being based off of actual American history. I felt like the whole thing about the Obscurious was also probably had some maybe politically correct overtones, but I'm not sure. I think I need to know more of this story before I decide what I think about all of that.
I thought the whole thing with the Obscurious was odd when I first watched it, and I was trying to make sense of like, okay, where does this fit in? You know, Newt has one in his suitcase, but it's not really a creature, but it's kind of a creature. When reading up on the official websites, it's a creature, but it's formed, you know, within a human as a result of their shoving down their magic, basically. I feel like it brings up sort of questions within the larger world and the canon of So there's never been any other wizards that have tried to keep their magic, rein their magic in. And how about the laws that minors can't practice magic? And well, if we're just going to turn them into this awful creature, then is that really a legitimate law?
And it makes you wonder too if Harry had been in different circumstances where Hogwarts wasn't aware of him or something, like what would have happened, because things were going crazy all the time at the Dursleys' house. And so I thought that was an interesting connection. And so maybe this is the other side of the coin. Like, Harry's life definitely has a lot of problems, but he's able to work through them.
That's true.
While being true to himself. And so this is showing just the other side of that situation, maybe.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see kind of how it goes. So I want to know what Newt's going to do with the one in his case. Like, what do you do with it once you capture it and you separate it from?
Yeah, he kept saying all the time when Tina was like all shocked that he had it and worrying that he was the one who was setting it loose on the city. And he was like reassuring her that it can't hurt anyone.
Yeah, but he wouldn't let Jacob go near it either.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like he tried to save, I don't know, he tried to save Credence by separating him from the Obscurious. Of course, that didn't work. But I just kind of get the feeling like, I don't know, maybe he's saying it doesn't hurt anyone because he's not any longer attached to the human element with the human emotions or whatever, but like, hey, I've got it taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I definitely don't like the idea that I have to wait for another 10 years or whatever for this to unfold. I really need this to happen faster.
We all do.
So, it is what it is, I guess. The next movie is supposed to come out in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if they're going to keep on the every 2-year track, but I really need it to speed up a little bit. As far as we can come back, but the novella.
Mm-hmm.
So the novella was originally written as part of a 3-part set. So when you had Quidditch throughout the ages and trying to think what the other one is. There's a third one, isn't there? There's Quidditch Through the Ages. I felt like there was one more. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, she wrote them originally specifically for the charity Comic Relief, which I looked up, and it's a major UK charity, and they contribute to all kinds of things, all kind of worldwide efforts, from refugees to helping disabled children, medical programs, all kind of different things. And I looked, and it said that this book alone, the 2 books, Quidditch Through the Ages and this book, raised $18 million for that charity. I didn't like it. I didn't like the book at all, but I thought that was pretty amazing that an author who was doing that well off would just make this contribution, and I thought that was kind. So
yeah. So why did you not like it?
It just was boring. I felt like it was too, I don't know, textbooky.
It's supposed to be a textbook.
I know.
That's why I didn't like it, was because it was too small to be believable.
It was too small to be believable. That's also my problem with Tales of Beetle the Bard. It's too small to be believable. I just thought it was a bit, what is it? What is the right word? Like excessive. Like, I just ran on and on. I don't know what I wanted, but it wasn't that. That's a terrible thing for me to
No,
say.
that's exactly how I would describe it. The first time I read it, it wasn't what I wanted.
Are you telling me I need to read it again?
No, I don't like it either.
Oh,
And it's because we know that J.K. Rowling knows everything about it, and there's way more than what she gave us, and the movies are proof.
yeah, that's true.
So she could have done it. Like, it could have been like a textbook sized thing, and maybe we would have loved it.
Yes. Well, and therein comes up, they're releasing, maybe they just released this year. I'm looking at the date. It's supposed to be this year, so I guess you can already buy it. The new updated Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. And it has,
It's a hardcover?
yes. And it's a new like 6 or 7 more. Like everywhere it's like, oh, there's 6 more creatures. And I'm like, if you make a list of all the creatures in the wizarding world of J.K. Rowling, you can get more than 6. You can get more than 6 plus what was already there. I feel like it's weak. So I don't even want to go buy the new one, even though it does have a prettier cover than the first one.
Yeah, and I think it's coming in a set with Quidditch Through the Ages and the Tales of Beetle the Bard. I think they're all coming together in a set.
And I didn't like either one of those either. So I don't want them either.
Quidditch Through the Ages would make a better movie. I think it would.
Probably.
Because I remember the first time I saw Sorcerer's Stone when it came to theaters, the Quidditch scene was like my favorite part of the whole movie.
I love that about Goblet of Fire movie too.
Uh-huh.
There's so much. I just love it.
Yeah, Goblet of Fire is my favorite out of the Harry Potter books, and the World Quidditch Cup is my favorite section.
Yes.
I think it might happen.
Well,
I'll be excited.
Keep our fingers crossed. I know. So I was watching like little interview clips and stuff with J.K. Rowling, and she was saying when Warner Brothers approached her and said they had this idea, which was not exactly what Fantastic Beast is now. She was like, "Well, actually, I've already been thinking on something. Here's what I've been thinking," and this has morphed into the Fantastic Beasts series of 5 films.
Mm-hmm.
But she was saying that this is like of all the characters, all the sort of secondary characters or what in Harry Potter that were just a name. She's like, that's the one whose story she wanted to really tell the most. That's the one whose backstory was sort of the biggest thing. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, that was really kind of interesting to me because I don't know. There are other characters I think that I would have expected, like, no, there's a lot of backstory you have written down for this character, and Newt was not the one that I would have thought.
Well, we know that she has backstories for everybody. There is nobody in the entire wizarding world that does not have a backstory because she's very thorough.
I really need
but I think it's interesting that we know that Luna marries one of his grandsons. And so I'm hoping that at some point, like, the story is going to connect, because I would really love to see that.
It would be really awesome. I don't know if it's going to go that far in the future.
I know.
I don't, like, my gut feeling is that it's not going to go that far.
No, from what I've heard of Fantastic Beasts, I think it ends definitely way before that. I can't remember exactly when, but I'm pretty sure that this storyline comes to a close when Grindelwald is defeated, which we know that happens before Voldemort.
Yes.
So.
Yes. I guess we can't have it all. Right? Can't have it all. Well, Anyway, yeah, I definitely preferred this to the original Fantastic Beasts.
Yes.
And I feel really stuck up, but I have no plans of going to buy the new updated novella anytime soon. So if you do, you have to let me know.
I will. I was thinking about it, but I didn't do it yet. I don't own the first version. So,
One of my kids might. They might. I feel like somebody gave them that original, like, paperback, from Comic Relief or for Comic Relief. And they didn't make it through it either. They read like 2 pages and were like, well, I think I'm done. So, but that kid's not a reader. So that was expecting a lot. I don't know. I'm interested. I definitely want to see the rest of these screenplays come together. And I do have sort of a fascination with how do stories come about and get connected and put into film. I went to a panel, whatever discussion last year, where at the National Book Festival in DC, where there were 2 authors that talked about adapting their books to film. And it was probably my favorite sit-in, my favorite, whatever panel to go to.
interesting.
That I don't know. There's something about it that just makes my mind like tick over it, and I don't see.
So let's talk about that. Why do you think that J.K. Rowling wanted to transition from writing books to screenplays?
Well, without like, it's hard to like not just assume. I don't want to just assume, but it seems to me like the opportunity just presented itself. Warner Brothers comes and says, so we'd like to make a movie and this is what we're thinking. And she's like, well, actually, if you already have in your head where your next creative branch of the story would be, it's kind of just seems like opportunity presents itself. And it seems like it would be a neat new challenge. If you've been writing the same, I don't know, not the same style, because I know she's done like the Robert Galbraith books, and sort of some of her other books that have come out recently are different. They're not fantasy, not for youth, but just a completely different breakaway, something new to try and say, can I do this? Can I be successful at this? And I think she was producer on, I don't know, like the last half of the Harry Potter films, something like that. So maybe she already had a taste of this is what it's like to be, involved, but it would be more fun to do even more.
Right. So what I wonder is if, I don't know how she feels, but if I was an author, I would feel very protective of my story and my characters and my world. And so I wonder if that's how she started out. And then as the movies came out, she realized that it can be a good thing to have other people contributing to this, like other people who love it and working on it. And I wonder if it is kind of a relief to work on something like this with so many other people. And like, I feel like this format has a lot less pressure than a book would, because with a book, it is all on her.
That's true.
Totally deliver it, because we've seen that. But it seems like this might be more enjoyable now that she is successful.
Maybe so. And there are always haters. No matter how well written something is, somebody's going to complain. And yeah, I think that's the terrible part, is that you have to put yourself out there and say, put your name on it, and then people are going to chew you up. I I know you can't have it nice all the time, but
Mm-hmm.
definitely. And to be able to work with people that, this person, like each person has their skill, their talent that they're the best at, and you get a group that, super talented people in their different areas, then you're going to put together something amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, that's a good idea. Well, I think it's all fascinating. I love like looking at the background stuff. I love seeing, I don't know how it all comes together.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely interested to see how the next couple go. I think I would have liked to have had the screenplay before the film, seeing the film.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Yeah.
I think like I didn't see it right away when it came out, and so I went and saw it kind of spur of the moment, and so like I didn't feel like I was ready. And so maybe like I might have been panicking a little the first time that I saw it. And I actually haven't watched it again yet. Um, but I'm going to, and I'm wondering, I think I'm going to like it more this time. And I know for sure that when the next one comes out, I'm going to be excited to see it right away.
Yes.
Because with this one, I'm nervous and kind of put it off a little.
Yes. I agree to all those things. Well, and when I went, I didn't know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't followed along with all the news and updates and everything. So I guess I was still kind of expecting a Harry Potter movie, and it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different ball of wax. So it was kind of a little bit slower, and I didn't quite know what was going on. And I feel like, yeah, definitely after reading it, I want to watch it again. And I think the next one, I have the basis set up for it. I'll be ready to go find out what's going on. So
Definitely.
we should plan for whenever it's coming out. That should be our next book.
Yeah.
So in a year from now or whatever that.
Yeah.
So. All right. Well, I think, do you have anything to add to the discussion? All right. I think we covered everything that I have. Do you want to introduce us to next month's book?
Yes. So, since this summer we've been reading about a fictional magizoologist, I thought it would be fun to read something by a real naturalist. And so I have selected a book called Wild Animals I Have Known. And it's by a naturalist. I believe he was an amateur naturalist. But maybe not. I haven't read enough yet to determine that. But the author's name was Ernest Thompson Seton. And I believe it is a children's book. It might not have been published with that intent of being a children's book, but I think it's considered a children's book now. It's a collection of short stories that are told from the animal's point of view. And so this is considered the first entry in the new genre of realistic wild animal fiction. But there's going to be a lot to talk about with this. So I think it's going to be a great discussion, and I'm really excited.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. And I feel like we've got ourselves a little connection going again. We read the Once and Future King, and they had lots of animal experiences, and then this, and then there we go. All right. Well, with that, we'll leave it for tonight and we'll get our links and everything put up, and we'll really be back next month.
Wow, it's so exciting.
All right. All right. So everybody have a good night.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us. Comment below and let us know which of the Fantastic Beasts is your favorite. Check out The Library Lived In on Goodreads and Facebook.